I need to tell you something that's going to sound absolutely insane. For 10 years, I thought I had the perfect marriage, until one phone call at midnight changed everything. A woman on the other end said she was my husband's wife, and she wasn't lying. My husband didn't just have an affair. He had an entire other family. Actually, 2 other families. Same promises, same vacations, same lies. What I discovered next was even darker than the betrayal, and it could have gotten us all killed. I thought I knew my husband. I mean, really knew him. After 10 years of marriage, you think you've seen every side of a person, right? Every quirk, every habit, every little thing that makes them who they are. But I was so wrong. And the way I found out, it's the kind of thing that makes you question every single moment you've ever lived. It was a Tuesday night. Nothing special. Just another regular evening in our cozy little house in Charlotte. Mark was out of town for work, like he often was. Sales manager for a tech company. Always traveling, always closing deals. I'd gotten used to it over the years. The empty bed, the solo dinners, the texts saying, "Love you, good night," from some hotel room across the country. It was our normal. I was already in bed, scrolling through my phone mindlessly, when it rang. The screen lit up with a number I didn't recognize. It was nearly midnight. My first thought was spam, maybe a wrong number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Maybe it was intuition, or maybe it was just boredom. Either way, that decision changed everything. "Hello," I said, my voice thick with sleep. There was a pause, then a woman's voice, shaky and uncertain. Is this Mark Henderson's phone?" I sat up straighter. "No, this is his wife. Who's this?" Another pause, longer this time. I could hear her breathing on the other end, quick and nervous. Then she spoke again, and her words hit me like a freight train. "His wife? That's impossible. I'm his wife." I laughed. It was automatic, defensive. "I'm sorry, you must have the wrong number. Mark's been my husband for 10 years. 10 years? Her voice cracked. "We've been married for 9. The room started spinning. My hands went cold. This had to be some kind of prank, some cruel joke. But there was something in her voice. Raw panic, genuine confusion. She wasn't lying, or at least she believed what she was saying. "What are you talking about?" I managed to say. "Mark Henderson, 38 years old, sales manager. Scar on his left shoulder from a surfing accident when he was 22. Always orders his coffee black with exactly 2 sugars. Has that stupid vintage Springsteen poster in his office that he treats like it's a Picasso." I couldn't breathe. She was describing my husband, down to details I'd barely think about. The scar, the coffee, that ridiculous poster he'd had since college. "This is insane," I whispered. "Tell me about it," she said. And I could hear her crying now. "I found your number in his phone, in his other phone, the one he thought I'd never find." We stayed on that call for 3 hours. Her name was Rebecca. She lived in Austin, Texas. She had 2 kids with Mark, a 7-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl. She showed me everything over video call. Their house, decorated almost identically to mine. Her wedding photos from 9 years ago. Pictures of Mark, my Mark, holding babies I'd never seen, celebrating birthdays I'd never known about, standing in front of a different house with a different family, but wearing the same smile he gave me every single day. I wanted to throw up. This wasn't just a trahison. This was a complete betrayal of reality itself. This was a golpe on a scale I couldn't even comprehend. How does someone live 2 entire lives? How do you maintain 2 marriages, 2 families, 2 completely separate existences without anyone noticing? But as Rebecca and I compared notes, the pieces started falling into place in the most horrifying way possible. All those work trips he'd been going to his other family, the weeks he spent in Texas for that big account, he was home with them. The times he was supposedly in Charlotte with me, he was telling her he was traveling for business. He'd built a perfect system, a seamless rotation between 2 lives. And the worst part? He'd done it so well. Neither of us had suspected a thing. Not once in all those years had I felt like something was off. Every anniversary, every birthday, every holiday, he'd been there, present and loving. Or at least I thought he had been. Now I couldn't tell what was real and what was part of the performance. Rebecca and I made a pact that night. We weren't going to confront him separately. We weren't going to let him spin different stories to each of us. We were going to get to the bottom of this together, and we were going to make him answer for what he'd done. The next morning I started digging. I mean really digging. If Mark could hide an entire second family from me, what else was he hiding? I went through everything. His laptop, his files, those old boxes in the garage he'd told me never to touch because they were boring work stuff. I felt like a detective in my own life, searching for clues to prove that the man I'd loved was a stranger. That's when I found the photos. Printed photos. tucked away in a folder at the bottom of a storage box. And when I say they were identical, I mean identical. There was a picture of Mark and Rebecca at the Grand Canyon, both of them grinning at the camera with the sunrise behind them. And in the same folder, there was a picture of Mark and me at the Grand Canyon. Same angle, same pose, same sunrise. Different woman, same performance. There were dozens of them. Disneyland, both families. New York at Christmas, both families. That little cafe in Portland he told me was our special place. He'd taken her there too, sat at the same table, probably ordered the same damn pancakes. Every meaningful moment of my marriage, every memory I'd treasured, had been duplicated, staged, repeated, like he was following a script and we were just different actresses playing the same role. I called Rebecca immediately. "You need to check your photo albums," I told her. "Check every vacation you've ever taken with him." She did, and when she called me back an hour later, she was sobbing. "The lighthouse in Maine," she choked out. "He proposed to me there, under the stars, with a blanket and champagne. He told me it was the most romantic thing he'd ever done." My stomach dropped. "He proposed to me there too," I whispered. "Same lighthouse, same setup. He even used the same words. He said, 'I want to spend every sunset and sunrise of my life with you.' That's exactly what he said to me," she breathed. "This wasn't just living a double life. This was something darker, more calculated. Mark had created a blueprint for the perfect life and then executed it twice, down to the smallest detail. Same dates, same locations, same words, same promises. He'd given us identical experiences because to him, we were interchangeable. We weren't people he loved. We were roles he was playing. But here's where things get even crazier. As Rebecca and I dug deeper, comparing timelines and receipts and credit card statements, we started noticing inconsistencies. Days when he should have been with one of us, but the money trail said he was somewhere else, entirely. A hotel charge in Denver when he was supposedly in Atlanta. Plane tickets to Miami that neither of us could account for. Gaps in his perfect system that didn't make sense. "Do you think there's someone else?" Rebecca asked during one of our marathon phone calls. "Someone else?" I repeated. "You mean aside from us being someone else to each other?" "I mean a third person," she said quietly. "What if there are more?" I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't. 2 lives was already impossible to wrap my head around, but the evidence was staring us in the face. So we kept digging, and that's when Rebecca found the bank statements. They were hidden in a file on Mark's laptop, password protected. Rebecca was always better with tech than me. She worked in IT, so she managed to get in. And what we found made everything else look like child's play. There were 3 separate accounts. One for us in Charlotte, one for them in Austin, and a third one we couldn't identify. It was registered under a slightly different name, Marcus Henderson instead of Mark, with an address in Seattle. The transactions told a story that made my blood run cold. Mortgage payments to a property neither of us knew about. Tuition payments to a private elementary school. Flower deliveries on Valentine's Day and Mother's Day to yet another address. "Oh my God," Rebecca said when she showed me. "There's a third family." I felt like I was in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. How far did this go? Who was this man? Was anything about him real? Or was Mark Henderson just a character he played? A costume he put on depending on which life he was living that week? We found her social media after that. Sarah Henderson. She lived in Seattle with their 8-year-old daughter. Her profile was private, but we could see enough. Pictures of Mark at soccer games, Mark helping with homework, Mark playing the devoted husband and father. The same role, the same performance, just a different stage. 3 wives, 5 kids between us, 10 years of my life, 9 years of Rebecca's, 8 years of Sarah's, all running parallel, all completely separate, all thinking we had something special and unique, when really we were just part of his twisted system. Rebecca wanted to call Sarah immediately, but I stopped her. "We need more information first," I said. "We need to know everything before we confront him. If he's been doing this for 10 years, he's good at talking his way out of things. We need evidence he can't deny." So we kept investigating, and the more we found, the sicker I felt. Credit cards in different names, P.O. boxes across the country, a whole network of lies and logistics that must have taken incredible planning to maintain. This wasn't something that just happened. This was deliberate, methodical, sustained deception, on a level I didn't think was possible. But then we found something that changed everything. Something that made the double life, the triple life, all of it, seem like a prelude to something much darker. It was a series of emails, buried deep in a folder marked insurance documents, except they weren't about insurance at all. They were correspondence with a man named David Marsh, and as I read through them, I felt my entire world shift again. Mark wasn't just living multiple lives for the thrill of it. or because he was some kind of sociopath who got off on manipulation. He was running from something, or more accurately, he was hiding something. Something that could destroy not just our families, but put all of us in danger. The emails referenced the incident in Boston and keeping the feds off the trail. They talked about maintaining the covers and staying clean. There were references to money laundering, to shell corporations, to a deal that had gone wrong years ago and left Mark, or whoever he really was, on the run. He's not a sales manager, Rebecca said, her voice hollow. He's a criminal. He's in witness protection or something, I added. Or he's hiding from people who want him dead. Or maybe he's still actively involved in whatever this is and we're just, what? Cover? Camouflage? The thought made me sick. Were we real to him at all? Or were we just part of his elaborate disguise? Families make you look normal, trustworthy, stable. No one suspects the guy with a wife and kids of being involved in anything shady. What if that was all we were? Props in his escape plan. We spent the next 2 weeks gathering everything we could. Rebecca copied files. I photographed documents. We created a timeline, built a case, and then we decided it was time. We were going to confront him, together. Mark was supposed to come home to Charlotte that Friday. He'd been in Dallas for a conference, which probably meant he'd been in Austin with Rebecca or Seattle with Sarah. We didn't care anymore where he'd actually been. We just needed him in one place, with both of us there to make sure he couldn't run. Rebecca flew away. In Thursday night. It was surreal, meeting in person for the first time. We'd spent hundreds of hours on the phone by then, crying together, raging together, planning together. But seeing her face to face, this woman who'd lived a parallel version of my life, was overwhelming. She looked exhausted. I probably did too. This whole thing had aged us both. Ready? She asked as we sat in my living room Friday afternoon, waiting for Mark's car to pull into the driveway. I'll never be ready for this, I admitted, but let's do it anyway. When Mark walked through the door at 6:30, carrying his overnight bag and wearing that easy smile I'd seen 10,000 times, he didn't notice Rebecca at first. He called out, "Honey, I'm home," like it was any other day. "In the living room," I called back, my voice surprisingly steady. He walked in, still smiling, and then he saw her. The smile froze. His face went white. His bag dropped to the floor with a thud that echoed in the sudden silence. "Surprise," Rebecca said coldly. For a moment I thought he might run. His eyes darted to the door, calculating, but then something shifted in his expression. Resignation, maybe, or acceptance that he'd finally been caught. He sank into the chair across from us, his head in his hands. "How long have you known?" he asked quietly. "Long enough," I said. "We know about Rebecca. We know about Sarah. We know about the money, the fake names, everything. So you're going to sit there and tell us the truth, all of it, starting with who you really are." He looked up at us, and for the first time in 10 years, I saw fear in his eyes. Real, genuine fear. Not of us, but of what we knew. Of what might happen now that his house of cards was collapsing. "My name is Mark," he started, his voice hollow. "That part's true, but everything else, you're right. It's been a lie. All of it." "Why?" Rebecca demanded. "Why would you do this to us? To your children?" He laughed bitterly. "You want to. Know the twisted part? I loved you. Both of you. All three of you. That was real. But I couldn't be just one person. I couldn't live just one life. That's not an answer." I snapped. "That's not an excuse." "I know," he said. "God, I know. Look, 9 years ago I got involved in something. A business deal that went sideways. There were people involved who, let's just say they weren't good people. And when it all fell apart, I became a liability. I had information they didn't want getting out. So I had to disappear." "Witness protection?" Rebecca asked. "No, nothing official like that. I couldn't go to the police because technically I was complicit in what happened. So I just ran, changed my name, moved cities, started over. I thought one life would be enough. I thought I could just be Mark Henderson, the sales manager, and leave the past behind. But," I prompted. "But I got paranoid," he admitted. "I thought if they ever found me, if they ever tracked me down, I'd need backup plans. Other identities, other lives I could slip into if I had to run again. And once I started, I don't know, it became addictive. The control, the ability to be multiple people. I could be whoever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I convinced myself I was protecting you all by keeping you separate. If anything happened to one life, the others would be safe." "That's insane," Rebecca said flatly. "You're insane." "I know," he repeated. "But it worked. For years it worked. I kept everyone happy, everyone safe, everyone provided for. I was there for birthdays and holidays, and you were there for duplicates," I interrupted. "You gave us all the same life because we weren't real to you. We were just versions of the same fantasy you wanted to live over and over. He flinched. That's not fair. Fair? I stood up, rage flooding through me. You want to talk about fair? You lied to us for a decade. You created fake families like they were products on an assembly line. You made us believe we were special when we were just copies, replacements, backups. And what about the money? Rebecca added. The shell corporations? The laundering? Are you still involved in whatever it was that made you run in the first place? He didn't answer. He just looked away, jaw clenched. Oh my God, I breathed. You are. You're still doing it. I needed to fund all this somehow, he said defensively. 3 houses, 3 families, constant travel. You think a sales manager salary covers that? So you used us, Rebecca said. All of us. As cover for whatever criminal enterprise you're running. No, he protested. It's not like that. I'm just moving money, hiding assets. Nothing violent, nothing dangerous. Nothing dangerous? I repeated incredulously. You just told us there are people who want you dead. How is that not dangerous? What happens when they find you? When they find us? He stood up abruptly. They won't. I've been careful. Everything I've done has been to keep you all safe. Safe? Rebecca laughed harshly. You've put us all at risk. Our children are at risk because of you. No, he said firmly. You don't understand. The setup I have, the separation between lives, it protects you. Nobody knows about any of you. You're invisible to them because you're not connected to the right names, the right accounts. As long as things stay separate, you're fine. Except things aren't separate anymore, I pointed out. We know about each other now. We've found everything. So what happens now, Mark? Or Marcus? Or whoever the hell you really are? He looked between us, panic creeping into his expression. You can't tell anyone. If this gets out, if people start digging, it's already out, Rebecca said coldly. We've documented everything, every account, every alias, every property, and we've put it somewhere safe. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell us everything, the whole truth this time, who you're working with, what you're hiding from, all of it, and then you're going to fix this. I can't, he whispered. If I talk, if I expose anything, we're all dead. Then I guess we're at an impasse, I said. We stood there in silence, the weight of 10 years of lies hanging between us. This was the man I'd promised to love forever, the father of the children I'd always wanted but never had, the person I'd trusted more than anyone in the world. And he was a stranger, a criminal, a ghost wearing a mask. I need time, he finally said. Let me figure this out. Let me make arrangements to protect everyone. You have 24 hours, Rebecca told him. After that, we're going to the police with everything. Please, he begged. Just give me a week. I can fix this. I can make it right. You can't make this right, I said softly. You destroyed 3 families. You turned our lives into a lie. There's no making that right. He left that night, packed a bag and walked out without another word. Rebecca and I sat in my living room until dawn, exhausted and shell-shocked, waiting for something. We didn't know what. He called the next afternoon. Meet me at the storage unit in Concord, he said. The one off Highway 29. I'm there now. I'll tell you everything. Rebecca and I looked at each other. It could be a trap. It could be him running. But we had to know. We had to understand how deep this went. The storage facility was old, run down, tucked away from the main road. We found Mark in front of Unit 217, the door already rolled up. Inside were boxes and filing cabinets, computers and hard drives, years of evidence, all carefully preserved. This is everything, he said when we approached. Every file, every transaction, every piece of information about what I've been doing. I kept it in case I ever needed leverage or had to prove something, but now, I want you to have it. Why? I asked suspiciously. Because you were right. I can't fix this, and I can't keep running. So I'm giving you the choice. You can turn me in, expose everything, and let the chips fall where they may. Or you can take this and use it however you need to protect yourselves, to get justice, whatever you decide. Where will you go? Rebecca asked. I don't know yet, he admitted. Somewhere they can't find me. Somewhere I can start over. Again. And us? Your kids? You're just going to leave? What else can I do? He said helplessly. Stay and watch my lies destroy you all? At least this way, you have control. You have information. You can decide what comes next. I wanted to hate him, and I did. But looking at him standing there, defeated and broken, I also felt something else. Pity maybe, or just sadness for what could have been if he'd been honest from the start. You need to tell Sarah, I said. She deserves to know too. He nodded. I know. I will. And you need to set up funds for the kids. All of them. something legal, something that can't be traced back to whatever mess you're involved in. They didn't ask for any of this. I already have, he said quietly. Trust funds, education accounts, everything legitimate. I may be a liar and a cheat, but I'm not going to leave my children with nothing. Rebecca and I took the storage unit contents. We spent the next 3 months going through everything with a lawyer, figuring out what we could use, what we needed to hide, what would protect us versus implicate us. It was complicated and messy and exhausting. We reached out to Sarah eventually. That was the hardest conversation of all, explaining to someone else that their entire marriage was a fabrication, that the man they loved didn't exist. She was devastated, angry, confused, all the things Rebecca and I had been. But eventually we formed this strange bond, the three of us, survivors of the same trauma, united by the same betrayal. Mark disappeared. We don't know where he went, and honestly, we don't want to know. Some of the information he gave us suggested he might have gone to South America or Southeast Asia, places where he could vanish into the chaos. Part of me hopes he found peace. Another part hopes he's living in constant fear, the way he made us live once we knew the truth. The money in those accounts? We split it 3 ways, used it to set up our kids' futures, and rebuild our own lives. We were careful. Everything legal, everything documented. We weren't going to let his crimes become our burden. As for the bigger picture, the people he was running from, the deals gone wrong, the criminal empire he was supposedly part of, we made a choice. We took certain documents to certain people who could use them. Not the police, but individuals who had an interest in seeing justice done. And we kept copies of everything else, locked away safe, just in case we ever needed protection. It's been 2 years now. Rebecca, Sarah, and I talk regularly. Our kids have met. They're half-siblings after all. And it's not their fault their father was a monster. We've formed this weird extended family born from trauma and survival. It's not perfect, but it's real. More real than anything Mark ever gave us. People ask me sometimes if I regret not seeing the signs earlier. How could you not know, they say. How could you live with someone for 10 years and not realize they were living a completely different life when you weren't around? And the truth is, I don't know. Maybe I didn't want to see it. Maybe I was so invested in the fantasy of the perfect marriage that I ignored the inconsistencies. Or maybe Mark was just that good at lying, so practiced, so committed to the performance that there were no cracks to see. What I do know is that betrayal changes you. It makes you question everything, not just about the person who betrayed you, but about yourself, about your judgment, your instincts, your ability to trust. It takes something fundamental and breaks it in a way that never quite heals right. But I also learned something about resilience, about the strength you find when your entire world collapses, about the connections you forge with people who understand your pain in ways no one else can. Rebecca and Sarah aren't just fellow victims. They're friends, sisters, family. We survived something terrible together, and that bond is unbreakable. As for forgiveness, I don't know if I'll ever get there. Mark stole years from me, from all of us. He turned our lives into an experiment, a game, a convenient cover for his real priorities. He gave us identical experiences because we were interchangeable to him. That's not something you just get over, but I'm trying to move forward, to rebuild, to find out who I am when I'm not defined by someone else's lies. It's hard, and some days are worse than others, but I'm doing it. We all are. The worst part, the thing that keeps me up at night sometimes, is wondering if there are others, more families we don't know about, more children with his eyes, more women living their perfect lives with a man who's just passing through, playing a role, maintaining his cover. He's out there somewhere, and for all we know, he's already started over, already found a new identity, a new place to hide, a new family to deceive. And maybe that's the real nightmare. Not that it happened to us, but that it could happen to anyone. That the person sleeping next to you could be a stranger. That the life you've built could be built on lies so elaborate you'll never untangle them all. But I refuse to let that break me. I refuse to let Mark's betrayal turn me into someone bitter and closed off, unable to trust again. That would be letting him win, and I'm done letting him have power over my life. So I'm choosing to believe in possibility again, in honesty, in genuine connection, in the chance that not everyone is hiding something dark. It's terrifying, opening yourself up again after being burned so badly. But the alternative, living in fear and suspicion forever, isn't living at all. Rebecca says the same thing. So does Sarah. We're all trying to reclaim our lives from the wreckage he left behind. Some days we succeed, some days we fail, but we keep trying, because that's all you can do. And if Mark is out there reading this somehow, if he stumbled across our story in his new life with his new identity, I want him to know that we survived, that we're stronger than he thought, that his golpe didn't destroy us the way he probably feared it would when it all came crashing down. We found each other in the ruins of his lies, and we built something real, something he never gave us, something he probably never could give us, because he doesn't know how to be real. He only knows how to perform. That's his tragedy, really. He had 3 families who loved him, children who adored him, women who would have done anything for him, and he threw it all away because he couldn't stop running from his past, from himself, from whatever demons were chasing him. He chose the lies over the truth, the performance over authenticity, the comfortable fiction over the messy reality, and in the end, he lost everything. We lost a lot too. Years, trust, the lives we thought we had, but we gained each other, and that's something he'll never have. Real connection, real family, real love that isn't based on deception. So yeah, my husband had another family. Actually, he had 2 other families, and the life I thought I was living turned out to be a carefully constructed lie, duplicated and distributed like he was running some kind of franchise operation. It's insane. It's devastating. It's the kind of story you hear and think, that could never happen to me, but it did happen to me. And now I'm here, on the other side of it, trying to make sense of the wreckage and build something new from the pieces that are left. So, that's my story. The lie that lasted a decade, the betrayal that multiplied, the revenge that came from 3 women refusing to be victims. Thank you for sticking with me through all of this. I know it's been a wild ride. Now I gotta ask you something. If you discovered your partner was living a double life, would you want to know? Or would you rather live in the comfortable lie? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what you'd do in this situation. If this story left you speechless, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and smash that notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Trust me, the stories only get crazier from here. Thanks for listening, and remember, sometimes the person you think you know best is the one hiding the biggest secrets.